You walked into that tire shop because you had to, not because you wanted to, and you already knew something was wrong the second the kid behind the counter glanced at your worn tread and then glanced at you, sizing up how much he could squeeze. And 90 seconds later, he slides a quote across the counter that says $900 for 4 basic passenger tires, and your stomach drops through the floor, because that is the car payment, that is the electric bill, that is the money you were going to use to actually breathe this month. And now you are standing there doing the math in your head, knowing your kids ride in that car, knowing traction is the one thing between you and a guardrail on a wet on-ramp, and the salesman watches your face, do that thing where panic meets shame because he has seen it 1,000 times and he is counting on it, and you look up at the wall and you see the cheaper tiers sitting there, the brands nobody talks about, and every instinct screams that those are garbage, that buying budget rubber means strapping 4 black plastic frisbees to your wheels that will peel apart at 70 miles an hour and end you. So you swallow hard and you start reaching for the financing application on the $900 set, because at least the expensive logo feels safe. And that right there, that exact moment of fear, is the most profitable 60 seconds in the entire automotive industry, because almost everything you are afraid of in that moment was engineered into your brain on purpose, and the people who built that fear are about to get exposed. Here is what they do not want you to know. Several of the cheapest tire brands sitting on that wall, the ones you were taught to sneer at, are owned outright by the exact same premium conglomerates whose flagship tires cost you triple. Michelin owns BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Kleber, Riken, Tigar, and Cormoran. Continental owns General Tire, Barum, Gislaved, Semperit, and Viking. Goodyear owns Kelly, Fulda, Sava, and Debica. Bridgestone owns Firestone and Dayton. These are not knockoffs sneaking in from some unregulated warehouse. These are house brands, built under the same corporate engineering oversight, held to the same DOT compliance, stamped and tracked through the same quality control systems, deliberately buried under a humble nameplate so the parent company can capture your money on the budget end of the lot without ever letting you realize that the people who built the cheap tire are the same people who built the expensive. 1. They hide their own affordable line from you on purpose, and they do it so they can charge you a fortune for the badge. Now, I have to be straight with you because this channel does not survive on lies, and you people film your results and report back in the comments, and you will absolutely catch me if I oversell this. So listen carefully, because the industry wants you confused in one of 2 directions, and both of them cost you. The cheap sub-brand is not a secret clone of the flagship. It is not bit-for-bit identical. The parent company is not stupid. They protect the premium price by giving the budget line older generation tread patterns, simpler compound recipes, and in some cases a lighter build, and the single place where that difference shows up the most, the one number you can never ignore, is wet braking. In independent testing from outfits like Tire Reviews, ADAC, and AutoBuild, a budget tire can take several extra meters to stop on a soaked road from highway speed compared to a flagship, and several extra meters is the difference between a near miss and a hospital. So the rebellion here is not pretending cheap equals premium. The rebellion is knowing exactly what you are trading and refusing to get tricked in either direction, because the conglomerate wins whether you overpay out of fear or buy blind out of false confidence, and you are about to do neither. Hit subscribe right now, because the entire game these tire cartels run depends on you never learning to read the 4 inches of rubber you already own. They spend billions on Formula One sponsorships and glossy magazine spreads and stadium banners, and they fold every dollar of that marketing circus into the price you pay at the counter. A tax for the logo, a tax for the racetrack you will never drive on. And this channel exists to hand independent drivers the exact information that lets you walk past that tax, so subscribe and let us keep dragging this stuff into the daylight where the big retail shops cannot bury it. Let me show you the actual machine behind this so you understand why it works. Standing up a modern high-precision tire factory costs hundreds of millions of dollars. The molds alone, the curing presses, the steel belt calendaring lines, all of it. And once a giant has paid for that capacity, they want every hour of it running, and they want to own the budget shopper too. But they cannot slap their flagship name on a cheaper tire without cannibalizing the very price premium that funds the whole operation. So they create a sub-brand, they assign it a more conservative tread design and a more economical compound. They run it through facilities under the same corporate engineering standards, and they sell it to the exact same person who would have walked out and bought a true no-name otherwise. That is why these house brands are legitimately a gold mine compared to the unregulated junk, because you are getting real plant oversight, real dot traceability, real material standards, just calibrated to a lower price point with honest trade-offs baked in. And the trade-offs are knowable. They are stamped right into the sidewall if you know where to look, which is exactly what I am about to teach you. Now, let me take apart the tire they actually want in your driveway, the $250 per corner ultra premium Eco Comfort flagship with the serene name and the soft focus highway commercial. A real slice of that price is genuinely better engineering. I will never tell you otherwise. The newest silica-rich compounds and the freshest tread geometry do buy you shorter wet stops and lower rolling resistance and a quieter ride. That part is real. But a massive chunk of that number is not rubber at all. It is corporate overhead. It is the racing program. It is the advertising buy. It is the prestige of the badge. And when independent labs line the flagship up against that same company's own buried house brand, the gap in dry stopping and tread life is often modest, sometimes a couple of percent, while the wet braking gap is the one that stays meaningful. So the honest read is this: you are frequently paying a 150% markup to erase a difference that, outside of heavy rain, you would never feel in normal driving. That means the smart move is not blind loyalty to the expensive logo, and it is not blind faith in the cheap one either. It is targeting the parent company's house brand and then deciding, with real data in front of you, whether your climate and your driving make the wet grip gap worth closing. So here is the exact protocol, and you can do all of this for free standing in the parking lot before you ever sign anything. Step 1. Identify the parent company behind the budget brand on the wall. Because once you know that Kleber is Michelin, or that General Tire is Continental, or that Kelly is Goodyear, the fear evaporates and you understand you are inside the same family, not out in the wild. Step 2. Read the dot code molded into the sidewall. The plant code tells you which factory built it and confirms it came off a regulated, traceable line. And the last 4 digits are the week and year of manufacture. So a code ending in 3224 means the 32nd week of 2024, and you never want tires that have been sitting in a warehouse aging out for years because rubber degrades on the shelf whether it is premium or budget. Step 3. Read the UTQG triplet, the treadwear number, the traction letter, and the temperature letter, all stamped right there in the rubber. A treadwear rating of 600 outlasts one of 400. A traction grade of AA is the top tier, and A is strong, while B should make you cautious, and the temperature grade tells you how the casing handles sustained highway heat, and these 3 marks let you compare a $40 tire and a $200 tire on the same objective scale the manufacturer was forced to print. Step 4, and this is the step that separates people who get it from people who get hurt. Pull up independent wet braking data on your phone before you pay. Search the specific model. Look at how many meters it takes to stop on a wet surface from highway speed, and weigh that against where you live and how you drive. Because if you are in a place that rains like ours does, that single number matters more than the logo, the price, and the salesman's pitch combined. And now the critical warning, the part you do not skip, the part that is the difference between saving money and gambling with your family. Never, under any circumstances, buy a truly unaffiliated no-name tire from an unregulated offshore facility just because the price looks irresistible. Because those operations can bypass the rigorous compound and high-speed testing the major plants are bound to, they can lean on cheap synthetic fillers in place of properly formulated rubber, and that is the exact failure that lets tread peel away from the steel belts under sustained highway heat and triggers a sudden, uncorrectable blowout at speed, the kind you do not steer out of. And the buried house brands of the big conglomerates are your protection against that nightmare precisely because they sit under real corporate accountability. And the second half of that same warning, just as important, never let a low price trick you into assuming budget equals premium in the rain, because wet braking is the one specification where the cheaper tier most often gives ground, and it is also the one specification that can actually kill you. So you respect that number, you look it up every single time, and you make the call with your eyes open, instead of letting fear or false confidence make it for you. So picture the 2 roads in front of you. Road 1 is the $900 trap, where you hand over money you do not have, financing a set of tires whose price is swollen with racetrack sponsorships and television budgets and the smug weight of a famous logo, walking out feeling safe mostly because the receipt hurt. Road 2 is the informed move, where you walk to the budget tier on the same wall, recognize the parent company hiding behind the humble name, read the DOT code and the date and the UTQG grades with your own eyes, Check the independent wet stopping distance on your phone and walk out having spent $300 on tires from the same corporate family with honest trade-offs you chose on purpose instead of trade-offs that were chosen for you in the dark. One of those roads keeps $600 in your account and keeps your family informed and protected, and the other one just buys a badge. Send this to anyone you know who is about to buy tires or is loading up the car for a road trip, because the tire shop is counting on them walking in scared and walking out broke. And the only thing that breaks that machine is people who learn to read the rubber before they ever reached for their wallet. So share it now before somebody you love signs that $900 quote this